Hey, what up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode. We took a long hiatus from NFL predictions because you guys didn't watch the videos, but now we're back to talk about the playoffs. Now, I'll start this out by saying I am not a professional at this at all. But I do watch football, obviously, and I have a decent idea of, how I think a matchup would play out. Can I be wrong? Absolutely, I could be wrong. So I wouldn't take my advice and put any money on it. That'd just be dumb. That would just be dumb. Also, if you don't know, I'm a Falcons fan, so if I pick the Falcons, it may be a little biased. It may be. But let's start in the NFC, right? Now we have the Rams and the Falcons. Falcons on the road. Rams are like a 6-point favorite, I think. And I don't like this matchup for Atlanta, honestly. As I want Atlanta to win. In my heart, I would pick Atlanta to win the Super Bowl every year. But being completely realistic and honest with myself, Atlanta's defense is much improved. And Los Angeles' offense is much improved. But I think LA's offense is better than Atlanta's defense. I think Atlanta's defense, a lot of their numbers look better this year because of the fact that they've had so many turnovers on offense. Not always Matt Ryan's fault, but they've had so many turnovers which have given teams short fields, right? And when you give teams short fields, you're obviously going to give up less yards per game. Now, they've done a great job at holding people and, giving up less points. I think last year they were like 26th in points per game. This year they're like 9th, right? Huge improvement. But that improvement itself from like 26 to 9 is still, it's only a couple points per game. So it's not like they are giving up 12 points a game anymore, But unfortunately, if I'm taking my bias completely away, I do think the Rams probably win. This is the totally unbiased pick there. It's totally unbiased. And biased pick is Atlanta. So for the sake of that, I don't really want to pick this game, so I could really go either way. And it's tough. It's tough. So we'll loop back around to that, and we'll sort of include, hey, if Atlanta wins or if LA wins, because I don't want to pick it. I don't want to pick against my team. I just don't. Then we have Carolina at New Orleans. I think New Orleans is a much better team here. I think New Orleans might actually be the best team in the NFC right now. Their defense is great. Lattimore's been amazing. They've drafted so well. Their offense with Drew Brees, Kamara, Ingram, stellar. They beat Carolina twice, but it's really hard to beat any team 3 times in 1 year. But I think they do. I think New Orleans takes it, and I think that they move on, right? So then who they play next depends on who would win in the LA-Atlanta game, right? So if LA wins, Minnesota is going to play LA. If Atlanta wins, Minnesota is going to play New Orleans. So for the sake of this, Atlanta wins, right? Atlanta at Philly. Philly's offense is not going to be very good, but Philly's defense is really good. And what Philly likes to do on offense is run, and they're going to have to run the ball against Atlanta. But I would like Atlanta over Philly without Wentz, personally. I think a lot of teams are probably better than Philly without Wentz. Like he was the MVP of the league. It's so hard to lose the MVP of the league and continue, But Philly's defense is still really good. If Foles plays well, Foles can be a playoff quarterback easily. But I don't have any faith in putting him against former MVP quarterback, right? Whether it's Drew Brees or whether it's Matt Ryan. I'm going to take an MVP quarterback over Nick Foles. That's just a fair thing. So I think Atlanta would beat Philadelphia and move on. Now, Minnesota, New Orleans. Again, you've got Case Keenum, a really, really good Minnesota team, taking on Drew Brees. But Drew Brees, again, he's an MVP. Drew Brees is amazing. I've had to watch Drew Brees kick Atlanta's ass for years. I know how good he is. And I love Alvin Kamara. He's from where I live. And I support him. And I would take New Orleans over Minnesota. And then we have Atlanta and New Orleans in the rubber match to go to the Super Bowl. The first game that they played, Atlanta won, but there was some questionable calls. The second game, New Orleans won, and a lot of the officiating was slanted. A lot of the things didn't really go Atlanta's way, but New Orleans deserved to win the game regardless, despite what anyone says. I'm going to totally remove the bias for this pick, and I think New Orleans makes it to the Super Bowl. And I hate saying that, but I think they're so good this year to finally have the balance to give Drew Brees exactly what he needs. Kamara and Ingram, they're great. Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs in the league, and he's a rookie. So I'm taking New Orleans, and it hurts. It hurts the soul, but we're doing it. Switch over to the AFC. You got the Titans at Kansas City. Now, these are two teams I don't think are really that good. I think the AFC was very weak this year. I think a lot of people probably agree with that. Think of it like the SEC. It's very top-heavy, and then a couple good teams underneath there. But the Titans, I mean, they made the playoffs. The Chiefs made the playoffs. So they're not horrible teams. But I definitely think that Kansas City's the better team. They just have, some more playmakers. I don't trust Mariota. I don't trust Alex Smith to win a playoff game at all. But Kansas City, they've got the defense. They've got good players. Casey moves on to me. And then we got Buffalo at Jacksonville. Now, I think this is a bad matchup for Jacksonville, honestly. But it's really going to depend on Shady. How is Shady going to play? Is Shady going to be able to play a lot? Bortles versus, I guess, Tyrod Taylor is kind of an odd matchup at quarterback for the playoffs. But Jacksonville's defense is better than Buffalo's. Jacksonville's quarterback is better than Buffalo's. We don't know what's happening with Shady. To me, it's an easy pick that it's Jacksonville. Now, that means we get Kansas City at New England and Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Now, Kansas City, as we know, is a bad matchup for New England. And everyone in Pittsburgh wants this to happen. Trust me, they do. They do. 100%. But Tom Brady in the playoffs, at home, is not going to lose to Alex Smith. He's not. So to me, again, that's another easy pick. New England moves on. As much as I hate that. Now, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Now, they played earlier this year. It was Big Ben's worst game. I think he threw 5 interceptions. The game was really close until he threw like 2 straight pick sixes near the end of the game. And it's tough. AB's got some extra time to rest and recover from his injury. I would love to pick Jacksonville. I think that they're really good, but I don't think they're there yet. So I've got to pick Pittsburgh. I just have to. Bell, Brown, Ben, just so good. They're so good. They're so good. And then New England and Pittsburgh. Now, I know my man Snap is a huge Pittsburgh fan, so he would get mad if I didn't pick them. And when looking at the way New England is this year, they're not as good as they used to be at all. And they're still the number 1 seed, which is crazy. But I think that it's time. Brady can't keep doing this. He can't. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Not because I think they're going to win, but just because at some point Brady is going to have a bad game. And I think this is the bad game he has. So that puts us at Pittsburgh versus New Orleans in the Super Bowl, which is a pretty good matchup, really. Now, obviously, I would like to see Pittsburgh versus Atlanta, and maybe we'll get that. But Pittsburgh, New Orleans, a great offense versus a great offense. I think that sort of cancels out. I think the offenses really do cancel out, which means that it's on the defense. Can Lattimore lock down Antonio Brown? That's the question. And the answer is no, he can't. Lattimore has done a very good job playing against not Julio Jones, right? Antonio Brown is going to get open a lot. You got Juju, you got Martavis, you got Eli Rogers, Jesse James, Le'Veon Bell. I just think that New Orleans is going to have a harder time stopping the pass game than Pittsburgh will have stopping the run game. So unfortunately, Pittsburgh, I think, is going to win the Super Bowl this year, just based on how it stands right now. And those, I could get every single one of these games wrong, and that's okay. I'm just trying to make a prediction based on what I think and what I've seen this year and how the teams play and how they're going to match up. Again, it could be very wrong. If I didn't pick your team, don't get mad. I didn't pick my team, so is what it is. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys like stuff like this, let me know so I can do it for next year. Give you guys my insight. Like I said, my insight's not necessarily right. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just mine. I appreciate it. I'm out.